Hi guys, welcome to Lingual Ladies, Conversations That Matter. Today we're joined by
Shelby.
My name is Sonia.
McCarrum.
and myself, Nicole. Today's topic is the Bilingual Education Act of 1968. You know, it's quite surprising how many dual language learners didn't get the education that they needed in their first language.
Absolutely, Nicole. It's a real concern, especially for Spanish speaking students who often fall behind in their studies early on, but they are not the only ones.
And the issue of not understanding or speaking English led to unfair treatment, which just added to their frustration.
Imagine how frustrating that must have been for these students and their families. This topic definitely hits home.
Yeah, that's why the Bilingual Education Act of 1968 is so crucial. It addresses the needs of dual language learners and encourages ways to help them transition to English effectively. This act is pretty hefty when it comes to the impact it made on us as SLPs today. According to Cordasco, when talking about the Bilingual Education Act of 1968, it not only addressed the needs of dual language learners, but it also promoted bilingualism as well as encouraged ways to help speed up children's transition to English.
Right, it promotes bilingualism and ensures that putting dual language learners in English only classes doesn't hinder their language growth.
So, how exactly did this all begin?
Well, it began as a response to the growing number of students from diverse linguistic backgrounds who were entering American schools, particularly students of Hispanic origin. And due to these circumstances, many Spanish-speaking students fell behind in their studies early on. With that being said, race, accent, and inadequate English abilities were taken into account when many people complained about the poor teaching attitudes towards Hispanic students. In turn, this encouraged the need to provide support for bilingual education programs in public schools.
That's interesting. So, this act that came about, this is the act that came about because of all this.
Yeah, and through thorough research, we know that putting dual language learners in English only classes can have a negative effect on their language growth. So, how hard must that have been?
So truly there's four major points to this act. One would be recognition of dual language learners. Two would be provided federal funding for bilingual education programs. Three is encouraged schools to hire qualified school educators. And fourth, it promoted academic success for dual language learners.
So, how exactly did the students get recognized as dual language learners?
While schools acknowledged the importance of learning in their native language, they were able to see that students weren't successful unless they were getting instructions in the language they understood. Students simply were staying behind.
And how was federal funding for bilingual education programs provided then?
School districts actually had to pay for the funding to be provided for them.
And you also mentioned schools actually worked on hiring more qualified educators because of this act.
Yes, schools hired qualified educators, which included bilingual teachers.
And how did it promote academic success for dual language learners then?
This act helped pave a way for dual language learners to have their educational needs met and ensured dual language learners to have the same opportunities as other students to learn.
You know, I would like to bring up that this act also has implications for SLPs in the education system.
Absolutely, Shelby. First, it increased awareness, the importance of determining a language difference versus a language disorder in language learners.
Yes, this act also started a more collaborative approach for speech services in the school systems. When working with dual language learners, SLPs often collaborate with other professionals such as interpreters, translators, teachers, and cultural experts to provide comprehensive and effective services. This collaboration can lead to better outcomes for our clients.
Yeah, collaboration is so important. Did this impact our understanding of bilingual SLPs?
Definitely. This act started the conversation about the importance of having bilingual SLPs for dual language learners. We know how important it is for these students to have bilingual education, so they absolutely benefit from bilingual speech therapy services.
The Bilingual Education Act has certainly made a significant impact on supporting dual language learners' educational needs.
Absolutely. In its early days, the federal government allocated millions of dollars to fund bilingual education for thousands of students. According to Dugnan, $7.5 million were issued out, enough to fund bilingual education for about 27,000 students.
And over time, the commitment grew into hundreds of millions of dollars, highlighting the importance of this cause.
Exactly. One thing is, this act did create a framework for federal aid for schools with dual language learners, but said little about whether the goal of the program should be a rapid transition to instruction in English or a slower approach, allowing the maintenance of the child's native language and customs.
Got it. And yes, even though the Act provided a framework for federal aid, it didn't exactly mandate schools to offer bilingual instruction.
That's true, but it still encouraged schools to hire qualified bilingual educators, which was a step in the right direction.
Absolutely, Shelby. It created a more inclusive educational environment and aimed to ensure equal opportunities for all students.
Yeah, and it's heartening to know that progress is being made to support dual language learners in their academic success.
Yes, and with continued efforts, we can make education more accessible and inclusive for everyone.
Well said. Let's hope this act continues to evolve and positively impact the lives of dual language learners.
Absolutely. Education should be about empowering every student to reach their full potential. And thanks to the Bilingual Education Act of 1968, something has been done about it.
All right, guys, thank you for listening to Lingual Ladies Conversations That Matter. Please listen to our podcast and show your support by rating us.
You can also leave a comment on this episode to continue the discussion of the Bilingual Education Act of 1968. Leave a question for us to answer. Let us know how this act impacted you, or let us know what you want us to discuss in future episodes. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.